ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Okay, we will start from the essence of the previous session. Dau hi padartho atma anatma. Aham, the source, sunshine, sun, the source, pure consciousness. And all other things possible in this creation, including my body, including all the constituents of my body, my subtle body, all the constituents of my subtle body, the causal body, the creation, all other things are other than aham, na aham, anatma. Now, see, there are two things. If one is able to attain realization and merge with the source, call the source as Swami, call the source as Brahman, pure consciousness, whatever. If one is able to exist post merger as that source, for him or for her, all these netis are nahams, starting from Mano Buddhi Chitta Hankara, Chittani, Mano Buddhi Hankara Chittani Naham, from there up to the fifth verse last. They are not very. But There is a book by Shivananji Maharaj, Experiences in Meditation. He describes about so many experiences in meditation, which a seeker can mistake to be that of realization. After crossing all those various stages, only one merges with the source. So, while this journey goes on, when the meditator sets out into this world, till one has merged with, remember one thing, when one merges with the source, it is not possible for him to explain what is that state. In Kenopanishad, when the disciple goes and tells that I think I know it, the Acharya says, I am afraid, I think you don't know it. Go again, contemplate. And then he comes back and says that, okay, that's very profound. Also, in someone who comes to Chinmaya and says that I know it, he says that no, you shut up, you quieten the mind which says that I know it and get out of all these inhibitions to really know about yourself. So when one has not reached that state and when sets out to the world, all these things are active. Manas, buddhi, chitta, ahankara. Okay. Everything, saptadhatu, raga, dvesha, moha, madha, matsarya, everything. The relations, all are active. So the child, the boy at home makes noise, we tell him, keep quiet. There is wind blowing from back home through the windows, we shut the windows. Wherever there is disturbance, we go and we tend to stop the disturbance. How important it then becomes to clear, to rise above all the disturbances within. And that is what Nirvana Shatakam is all about. Till the time you reach that aham state, not aham kriti, pure aham, source consciousness, how you have to deal with this, negate with this saying Jagat Mithya. And only aham is Brahma Satyam. And once you reach that state in the Nididhyasana on one day in one birth, what happens? Jivo Brahmaivana Para. There is no difference between me and Brahman. There is no difference between anything and the aham. So there, aham bhojanam naiva bhojyam na bhokta, that comes where there is no more duality. When even the duality between bondage and freedom goes, then the duality at that, the dohi padartho prostrates and leaves you, says there is no duality, oh master, you are that. Or the whisper comes from within, tat aham, tat asi. Okay. So remember, Nirvana Shatakam doesn't condemn any of these things. Everything except some of the vices like the Shadripus and the Ahankara, those which we have to get rid of. Except those vices, all other things are required in our spiritual. The body is required, the mind is required, the intellect is required. Everything. The Guru is required. Where we go on to say, na Guru na Shishya. Everyone is required. The parents are to be revered. Or we take along all of them with the clarity that they are all the ladder for me to reach to that top floor of self-realization. You never condemn the ladder after you reach the, you only keep it aside, right? There is no condemning of anything. It is to realize that they are all required, but the real me, I, is not any of them. This 100% clarity should be there throughout the 3-4 sessions. Now, we are clear about this, and we are clear about the seer seen in the Drisha Viveka also. But still, we keep on identifying ourselves with our ahankara, our chitta, our vasanas, our body, our intellect. Why? What could be few reasons for this? Either we tried and we failed. Could be one reason. Or we theoretically were convinced, theoretically we learned, but that Mananan stage, we were not 100% convinced about that. So we did not pursue it seriously. Or most important is we are caught up in the world with certain things. They could be pain, they could be pleasure. It is not to say that we are attracted to the world. He has seen in his own circle people caught up with lot of pain, people caught up with lot of pleasure. Both extremes he has seen, and he's seen. So we are caught up with some certain things in the world of acute pain or acute raga, attachment, desires. And in these things, we are so preoccupied that we are not able to achieve anything in meditation, though our funda is 100% clear. So what we say, we think in subconscious mind, we think, though outwardly we are convinced at Mananam stage, the subconscious mind is conveying to us that sadhana can wait. Let these pains be overcome. Let these desires be fulfilled. Let this property be acquired. Let this position be acquired. Let me reach to that place. This. So your inner mind says, let that wait. When we say that sadhana can wait, other things are important. Go back to last week's session. What about intellect, buddhi? What we learned? Buddhi is not clear. Buddhi is confused. This is that stage when it say that spiritual sadhana can wait. Your intellect is not clear. It is confused. See, nirvana is about total freedom. It is not partial freedom, or it is not 50% freedom. It is not 75% freedom. It is not 90% freedom. It is total freedom, nirvana. And for that, you have to have total conviction. Total conviction. That means moksha is the only goal. Liberation is the only purpose of my birth. The more strong, there is no not even degree of strength in this. That has to be total. Total conviction is there. All the three reasons which they all will shy away. I am trying, but I failed. No, here you will try, you will succeed. I am caught up in other pain and pleasure. This conviction, this way, goal supersedes all those pains and pleasures. Your sadhana takes off. What happens with that conviction when you are into this noble pursuit of self realization? When your thought, words, and character, everything becomes noble because of the ekagrata, because of the one pointed, single pointed direction towards the goal. What happens? Your intellect will stick to dharma. Intellect will have clarity. The memory, chitta balances will get reduced. The ahankara is dropped. What happens? Your mana shuddhi, your chitta shuddhi, everything gets fulfilled. So after negating that I am not the antakarana, manas, buddhi, chitta, ahankara, I am neither the organs, nor am I the five elements either. Now we proceed to deal with the subtle and the gross body further. We will listen to the first and second, both. Now we move on to the second verse. Neither am I the prana, nor am I the five vital airs, pancha prana, nor am I the sevenfold material that make up the gross body, saptadhatu, nor am I the five sheets, pancha kosha. Neither am I the faculty of speech, nor the faculty of grasping, navak pani pada, pada, nachopashtapayu, nor the faculty of moving, nor the faculty of procreation, nor of that all of them. I am auspicious, this Shiva, the nature of consciousness and bliss. Five pranas: apana, excretory system; vyana, circulation system; udhana, reactions and the final ejaculations; apana, excretory; vyana, circulation; udhana, reactions; and samana, the digestive system. One thinks I am this prana because the prana leaves, there is death. So I am all that prana, one may think. But as we dealt in the Panchakosha Viveka in the Satchitpur, we can feel these systems, five systems in our body. We can feel the energizing, and we can, as we grow old, we are seeing, we are knowing, we are able to know the coming down of the energy level in these five systems. So there also we learned, whatever you experience, you are not that. Here also we have learned, I see them. I know about these five pranas functioning. I know. That means they are all, whatever are known. I know is the cognition. I is the aham. All those are na aham. Okay. Then we identify with our sapta dhatu, the components of the body, the gross body: skin, flesh, blood, bone, marrow, fat, and nerves. We identify very much with these seven dhatus, and we glorify our body, that I am this body. Now there is an apparent contradiction, there is an apparent conflict. We are contradicting ourselves. How? We are so engrossed in our body, identification with our body. We are so engrossed with identifying ourselves in our form, with our form. And then we sit in meditation. Chidananda Rupa Acharya describes about the Brahman in Chitradeepa, in Drisha Viveka. Here, aham, aham, aham. And he described about Brahman in Satchitananda, Atman. I am sitting and meditating on Atman, the formless. How is it possible? You want to identify yourselves with the body, and you want to meditate and experience the formless Brahman. You are contradicting yourselves. How this is possible? Yad bhavam tad bhavati. Whatever we are in, that will only come out. Agattin alagamugattil theriyum. We have to transcend our body identification first. Then only we can perceive, meditate, and experience Brahman as formless. Otherwise, this contradiction will not work out. This is the main problem with all the meditators. 23 hours and 40 minutes we want to identify with our body. 20 minutes, like 7 keys to success. We want to meditate, sit and meditate, and we want to transcend and get the experience, and then go back to the master and say, we are not getting that experience. 5 years of meditation. How? Have you transcended your body? Have you been convinced that you are not all this, you are that? And have you reduced your thoughts, flow of thoughts, division, identification, thoughts, actions, karma, then chitta. Chitta pulls vasanas, manifests into vasanas. Vasanas pulls ragadvesha. Ragadvesha pulls thoughts. Again, the cycle, never ending cycle. You have to be above the thought patterns, thoughts before even you sit for meditation. Otherwise, how can you experience the formless? Not possible. This is the problem with us in spiritual sadhana. And then we leave it. We said that no, we will try it later on. We have to pursue so many things. Let all this, for the few things, I'm coming to that later. Let few these things be settled. Then I will. This sentence, like parrot, we repeat from the age of 20 until 90. Still, those few things do not get over at all. Now coming to Panchakosha. Panchakoshas, we have dealt with the Satchitpur elaborately. Few points we will touch upon this. All these Panchakoshas create problem. Kosha is cover. In English, you call as shield. All these Panchakoshas create problem for us because we ourselves are covered with one big kosha, the kosha of avidya, ignorance. Otherwise, we will not be troubled with these panchakoshas. Avidya is the main kosha, otherwise not covered in the panchakosha. That is big kosha. Then we come to identification with Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya, one by one subtler than the earlier one. And along with ignorance, all these koshas, this was not revealed in that Satchitpur. You realize the subtlety of this. Along with the avidya, each kosha joins, partners with the avidya, and they together, initially Annamaya plus Avidya, then all the five at the last together with Avidya, they all individually and then partnering with the Avidya, they all together cover the Atman and push us into ignorance. When we glorify and think that I am this prana, I am this body, I am this mind, I am this intellect, and that real happiness in the deep sleep, that is the real happiness. That is real bliss, Anandamaya Kosha. Ignorance. All the Stula Shushma, Karana Sharira, gross, subtle, causal, I am neither I. I am means we should be very clear. We should not be identifying with any one of them and glorify. When I say I am not any one of them, that I should still not be meaning me, this body, mind, intellect. And when we say this body, mind, intellect is not the body, mind, intellect. This mind is not the manomaya kosha. This intellect is not. When we take the I to be all this and we say I am not any one of them, we are not convinced about Nirvana Shatakamata. It doesn't get into the core of our heart. Theoretically, knowledge wise, chanting wise, it looks very brilliant. It doesn't get into the core of ourself. When I am say I am not any of this body, I should be very clear. I am not all this, or they go without saying. You may be silent, you may not be even telling them. You should be very clear about what you mean when you say I am not all this. I. You cannot just before sitting for the session or before contemplating on the session, 1 minute before, you cannot be identifying yourself with the body, mind, and then sit to meditate, mano, buddhi, chitta, ahankarana. Not done, not possible. You are not going to achieve anything. It will become a routine like any other nitya karma. Your sadhana will also become a routine. Regarding the identification with the body, the main problem with us that we give too much concern, too much care about the comfort for this comfort. But with all the background of all these sessions, whether you are able to be in the AC comfort, total comfort, or whether you are not, you are in a normal this thing place, inwardly, outwardly you may be sweating. Inwardly, the tranquility should not leave you. In both the situations, inwardly you have to be the same. You have to be very particular about not giving excessive concern, excessive care about the comfort of the body. Just to share, up to 1990s, 1988, 1990, there were hardly about 3-4 hotels with room accommodation in Puttaparthi outside. In birthday time and all residents used to accommodate the guests and charge some little money. Believe me, none of us even ever had a thought of, not that we could not, but we never had a thought of taking up an AC accommodation outside. It was To be in the sanctum sanctorum, there were no NRI we were not NRIs either. There was no luxury accommodation, no AC, no cot, nothing. West Prashanti. If you can afford to get a chatai, or we never used to think about mattress also. One chatai and one air pillow. If you are able to get, fine, fantastic. And how many functions days, how many festival days he has. He, along with so many others, we have slept on the verandas of the West Prashanti. Still, it was all total joy, total bliss. And come to think of the strenuous duties which used to be undertaken. There is a point why he is telling this. 4:30 he had to report for the mandir duty to a Bengali in charge over there, Saha, who was the boss of our Karthik's grandfather, Reddy Garu. 4:30, and at night after dinner he used to go to rest at 12 o'clock, midnight, 11 o'clock, 10:30, midnight in the dormitory shed number 2627. No rooms. How all this thing could be possible? Because of the nobility of the purpose. The purpose, the aim was something different. So the bodily comforts were all gone. Once you take off the purpose from that spiritual discipline, from that spiritual purpose, and then all things will come to you. Make it a point to go to pilgrimage once in a while and to be in least comfort, at least in your pilgrimage, even if you can afford to as an NRI. Yogarato va bhogarato va sangarato va sangavihina yasya brahmani ramate chittam nandati nandatyeva. Whether one is immersed in yoga or one is reveling in bhoga, outward enjoyment, whether he is enjoying himself in social company, sangaratova, or has retired into solitude, sangavihina. True happiness certainly cannot be all this. Then where is the true happiness? When one is reveling inwardly in Brahman, yasya brahmani ramate chittam, he alone will be truly happy, truly happy. Nandati nandati nandatyeva. Organ of speech, all these carry this one mantra. Whatever is negated in the Nirmana Shatakam, except for the vices, bad qualities which have to be, we are coming to that raga, dvesha, moha, lobha, mada, matsarya, all those things have to be discarded with lot of vairagya. They have to be discarded. Okay, but all other things are in me, no doubt. But me, the pure consciousness, I, is not any one of them. I am. I illumine all of them. I hold a relationless relationship with all of them. I illumine all of them. But still, I have no relation with any one of them. Early morning, the sunshine illumines the whole world. It doesn't come down to hug us and say, "You are mine." No, nothing is mine for the sunshine. It illumines rests the entire world, but still it is alone. It has no relation with any of the creation, any of the things which is it is illumining. That is aham, aloneness of self. There is a session on that. Now we go to the third verse. न मे द्वेषरागो न मे नैव लोभो मदो नैव मे नैव मात्सर्य भावो न धर्मो न च अर्थो न कामो न मोक्ष चिदानंद रूप शिवोहम शिव. Again our famous Raga Dvesha has come. These two come in the sequence, where they come in the kleshas. After the main ignorance avidya, then comes asmita, mind. Ignorance is, avidya is ignorance of our divine nature, asmita, mind. Mama, mind. From there, the raga dvesha, abhinivesha come. These two, raga and dvesha, they nullify. Abhinivesha is very subtle. It is not dealt with in all the spiritual discourses, mainly ragadvesha, ragadvesha, ragadvesha. Actually, when there is no attachment or where there is no hatred, there will be very less possibility of abhinivesha either. So mainly this raga dvesha, they nullify all our spiritual values. They render us as big zeros in our spiritual sadhana. They have to be transcended. There is no other way. We have to rise above raga dvesha for reaching con- that goal about which we have to develop unshakable conviction, realization to exist as aham, to cross the ahamkriti reflected consciousness and to exist as the source. One thing we have to appreciate, or we have to be aware now, not appreciate, we have to be aware. In both possibilities, when of course, one possibility is at gross level, we can understand when I like someone too much, or even when I dislike someone too much, I end up thinking about that person too much, both in like and dislike. And these thought patterns go and they disturb our meditation, they disturb our sadhana. So there is a division. I like someone. That means there are also other persons which I don't like. There is a division between I like and I do not like, and vice versa. When I do not like someone, that means there is a division caused. I like someone, and he is not one of them. I dislike. Division, identifying with the one whom I like, identifying the alignment in the nature of the person whom I like and my nature, and hating the other person with whom my nature does not align. Identification, thought bad thoughts, from where we started last session. Where there is a pleasure, there is raga. Where there is a pain, there is dvesha, generally, most of the times. So man wants to keep in close contact with those objects which gives him pleasure, and he shuns those objects which give him pain. He runs away from those objects which gives him pain. And all this pleasure and pain is to his ego, not to him, the pure consciousness. What happens for those who are not able to transcend this raga dvesha thoughts even before they sit and meditate? What happens? They are all going on in the back of our mind. We say, no, this is my meditation time. 6:30 to 6:45, my meditation time. I am going to transcend all these things. Very weak conviction. And we sit and meditate on Om or any session or anything or whatever meditation. What happens? The thoughts are surfacing about all this raga, dvesha, etc. Vasanas at subtle level. We try to put them down. We say, no, 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 be away, be away, be away. I am meditating, I am meditating. Please be away for some time. And we sit and meditate. And slowly, 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 we catch up in the meditation, any meditation which we like very much. And in the process, almost slowly, 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 all these things have gone. One by one, one by one, one by one, all these thought patterns have reduced. We think they are gone. Still, we are thinking, we are not meditating actually. And what happens till till the time we have mastered, we have transcended these ragadvesha vasanas, even in the waking state, what happens? We seem to have touched that point in meditation. We seems to have crossed all these ragadvesha, all these thoughts. Thoughts have subsided, reduced. Are they there? They are not there. They may, it seems they are not there. They have gone, they have gone, they have gone. One thought comes about some object, some human being, some ragadvesha related. 10 minutes meditation, gone. Gone in the drain, total finished. Again, we have to start from. And in our mundane pursuits, we don't have that much time for meditation. That day is gone. Better luck tomorrow. Like this, we waste our time. How important it is to transcend this ragadvesha. What is the prescribed panacea for this at the initial, at the intermediate level? Afterwards, you are on to your own. Initially, how to rise above this satsangatve nisangatva. Satsang with more into satsang. Any satsang which is close to your heart, which really brings about certain changes in your heart. When you are into satsang, the bhajan is a satsang. The seva is a satsang. Whatever, don't restrict the satsang to satsang. Any spiritual activity which uplifts you, which elevates you, it detaches you from all these things. When all other things you are detached, raga dvesha also you are detached. Then at the next stage, with satsang, you grow, you sit in meditation. These thoughts will come and go. Come and don't get attached to them. With Sakshi Bhava as witness, watch them. Let them come, let them arise like wave ocean. Let them come, let them arise, let them stay for some time, let them subside. You be a witness to them, though you may not be able to eradicate them in that stage of meditation. Gradually, next level you go where they don't come, at least for 10 minutes. That is why it is said spiritual sadhana is a long route full of thorns. It is not easy, like everything is done in a month. It's not done. That patience has to be there, that perseverance has to be there. No failure in meditation, no failure in sadhana should take you away from sadhana. The more the failure, the more you intensify the sadhana. That is the approach required. Otherwise, okay, eat, drink, and be happy. Live like everybody is living. What is there? Enjoy. Add more and more karmas. Add more and more papa punya. And then for papa punya, for clearing, take more and more janmas. No problem. Because I don't know about previous janma, I will enjoy this janma. Who's stopping? You have to speak to your own conscience and see, is this all this life all about? Or am I born for something higher purpose? Only you have to speak to yourself and you have to speak to God to get the answer. Shivananji Maharaj says, kill raga through Vairagya, this is again a mantras. There you are going to take away so many mantras in these 4-5 sessions. Kill raga through vairagya and transcend dvesha through cosmic love. He's not even going to explain this. For those bhaktas who are into devotion, this requires a lot of contemplation. Now this was about the do's and don'ts in Ragadvesha. Now let us go deeper into what perhaps Shankara would have meant in saying that Namere Ragadvesho. I myself, I am a Ragi at sometimes. I myself am a Dveshi at sometimes. I am liker of certain things at sometimes. I am disliker of certain things at certain times. Both are in me. What you like, other persons may not like. What you dislike, other persons may like. So this is not a universal applicable thing that these objects will be liked by all, these objects will be disliked by all. It doesn't happen like that. There is a house available for sale. There is a potential buyer, there is a seller of the house. The seller of the house wants to get rid of the house. Or figuratively, we can, for this understanding purpose, we can say he dislikes the house. He may not dislike, just telling. He wants to get rid of the house. The buyer wants to possess the house. Liking, disliking. Okay. Then there is an intermediary agent who is going to connect both of them and to make the deal go through. Okay. When I say I like something, we keep it flagged for something. We'll come to that within a couple of minutes. When I say I am a Ragi or I am a liker, or when I say I am a Dveshi, I am a disliker, I can put either of both are contradictory. So I can put a tag on myself as a Ragi when I am 100% liker of everything at all times. Or I can put a tag on myself as a Dveshi when I dislike everything at all times, at every time. It doesn't happen. So I am not 100% Ragi or I am not 100% Dveshi. Okay. Namme Dvesha Raghav. I am not 100% a Ragi. I am not 100% Dveshi. So what am I in between? What am I actually? Now come back to that agent who is neither liking the house nor disliking the house. His purpose is something different. So leave alone the limited purpose of the agent to earn the commission. Go to the next higher level. I am neither 100% Ragi, I am neither 100% Dveshi, but my purpose is something beyond Raga and Dvesha. My purpose is like the broker's purpose was something different. My purpose is to transcend both Raga and Dvesha. My goal is something different. Aha. Name Dvesha Raga. The fluctuation between the liker and the disliker in me proves that I am neither of them at all times. To hold an identity is to hold that identity forever, not with fluctuation. Only one identity is possible for the human being, like that, without fluctuation, changeless, motionless. Ah, everything else is subject to change. Everything is subject to movements. Likes or dislikes are subject to change. You like something, and later on you end up disliking the same thing, not even other things. You totally develop disliking for the same thing. Initially you dislike something, later on you develop something, liking for something, and sometimes later again you may again turn up, go back to the original thing, you may again dislike something. These likes and dislikes keep on fluctuating, keep on fluctuating. But the one pure aham is neither of them. He is above them. Nabe dvesha raghav. Lobha, greed. An entrepreneur wants to buy another house, another business. When certain his own employees or his own staff or his own family members or others, they do something in his existence with greed. They want to, the family people want to take up his shares, more of his shares. The staff, they protest with greed for more bonuses or more hikes. All those things irritate him, so he's against all that greed. But when he wants to go and buy the other business, this greed takes him to all any lower level. By hook or by crook, he wants to buy that house. He hates the greed which is given to him by others, but he himself is full of greed when he wants to buy something fresh. What a contradiction. The life is full of contradiction. That is why we don't evolve in spiritual sadhana. We commit the same things to others what we don't want others to commit to us. How nature's law is not like that. As you sow, so you will reap. You will reap the same. You cannot. Shivananji Maharaj says, you cannot plant an orange seed and get an apple fruit. Not possible. Whatever you do to others, you will get the same thing. Universal law. So, there is another example on a lighter note. Two beggars are sleeping. One is having a normal clay, this thing, a bowl, and the other is having a silver bowl gifted by some dharmatma to him. This fellow, his 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 bread and butter comes from begging, but he still, there is a greed. He steals that silver bowl and runs away to another location, and then sits and steals in that silver bowl, begs in that silver bowl. Arey, you are begging, and in that begging also, why so much greed? And to actually understand the truth of that, till the time we have attained self-realization, we are all beggars in this life. We are all begging for something or the other in our life. Endless list, laundry list is there of our requirements for which we are begging to others, begging to our family, begging to God for so many things. We are all beggars. Till the time we realize that there can be no one as wholesome, as Purnam, as fulfilled as we are. Chidananda Rupa, Emperor of Emperor, King of Kings, Shahenshah of Shahenshah, Chakravarti of Chakravarti. I may not have the next meal for me to eat, still I am the king of kings internally, because I have I have discovered my true identity, aham. And if we sit back and think in solitude, what have we not got in our life which we required? What God has not given us, that we should be greedy after certain things in our life? Is the life not fulfilling in itself if we think back? Whatever we needed, God has always given us. We wanted certain things in adharmic way with greed. Maybe we got it, we may not, but whatever we wanted for this body to sustain, whatever was required for the basic requirement in our life, and whatever is required for us to sit and meditate to pursue the noble goal, everything has been bestowed. Then why this greed? Moha. All the greed is, we'll go fast. All this greed is due to moha. Moha is false priority or confusion in priority. Delusion that happiness which I am seeking is there in the world. Objects can never give happiness to all equally, not even to the same person at all times. Mother, breed, pride, egoity, arrogance. There is a difference between self-respect and pride. Only this one point to be clear in pride. Person with self-respect with never look down upon others, whereas persons with pride will always look down upon others. Chinmaya says, your temper takes you to trouble, and your pride, your pride keeps you in the trouble forever. You know, the trouble may go, but your egoity, your arrogance stays there forever. Matsarya, jealousy, it has to be nipped at the bud. Jealousy, if you feel jealous of a person's capacity, singing or painting or at workplace or at home or anywhere, the nobler way is to really appreciate that person and go back to the source from where he has got all that, we say assemblage, assembling. We learn everything has been provided to us by God. Go to the source, God, who has bestowed on him, on her, all those things, and have the conviction and the confidence. And if my faith and confidence, faith in God is supreme, undaunted, then everything on the earth can be bestowed on me also by that God. Take your thoughts to that level, your jealousy will drop. Instead of sticking to that person and being jealous, go to the source, leave the matter, catch the source. Then we go to dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Ideal life is artha and kama, pursuing artha and kama, adhering to dharma with one goal in the entire process, moksha. I repeat, ideal approach is to pursue artha kama as grahastha, artha kama, within the bigger rectangle of Atma Dharma, and with the only goal being moksha. Artha we pursue for security. Kama we secure for our pleasures. When we forget dharma, we say when intellect is confused, stick to dharma. When our intellect is confused, then we pursue this artha and kama, crossing all boundaries of dharma. We have to curb this tendency and stick to dharma, even to pursue artha kama. We keep on skipping certain things. This dharma, artha, kama, moksha, no one can say that there is no need to pursue purushartha. We dealt with this in a session on dharma, artha, kama, moksha. At each ashramas, we have dealt in detail what is the purushartha for a brahmachari, what is the purushartha for a grahastha, what is purushartha for a vanaprastha, what is the purushartha for a sannyasi. Everything is required. Again, they go back to the mantra. All are in me. All purusharthas have to be pursued by me at this physical level as a jiva. But the pure I, aham, is not this jiva either. Wherever you may run away from the pure aham, pure goal, you are always the Atman. That is why you discover yourself to be that Atman. You don't know afresh that you are the Atman. The Atman is always there, like Pandari Nivasa He Panduranga. We saw Swami always waiting for us to turn back to him and say, now, what do you want from me, Swami? I will go as per your dictum, your instructions. I will follow your instructions and come to you, reach you, and merge you, the Krishna merging. Okay, so the Atman is always, it doesn't ever, like Swami never leaves us. It is always in us, around us, near us, to the right, to the left, everywhere, everywhere, enveloping us, and wherever we go. The poet wrote in long back in a song, Ni pogumidamellam nanum varuven po po po. Wherever you go, I will follow you like your chaya. I will follow you. I'll follow you. I'll follow you unless and until the time when you turn back and the reflection and this thing both merge. There is no difference between the two. Artha is for security. Now come to think of it. What stage can be more secured than the stage of mukti? Total freedom. Total freedom can only be total security. There is no bondage, total freedom. Artha is leading us towards that freedom, aham. Kama, desire for happiness. What more happiness can be there when you exist yourself as the source of all joy, ananda, chid ananda rupa. What more happiness? All kama ultimately must go. They do go. In one birth, they go and they land you in your pursuit for that eternal happiness. Kama, eternal ananda. Dharma. What other dharma one has except the Atma Dharma? And though moksha is one of the purusharthas, moksha is considered as Parama Purushartha because all the other three lead to the moksha. Moksha is the culmination of Dharma, Artha, Kama. So from I started. Due to ignorance, I thought I am the Jiva. Then I caught up into the roller coaster of life for several births, leading life in fusion. Excessive raga, excessive dvesha, excessive abhinivesha, excessive vasanas, excessive kama, excessive artha. So, and side by side, in a southern session, he said, like the railway track, on the one side, all these worldly pursuits are going on the other track, the spiritual sadhana is also going on. Southern, we said bhajans, study circle sessions, everything goes on. And like he has explained you beautifully, you consider all the arthas must lead you ultimately when all Kalavam Katrumara said, Avayar, even stealing you learn and then leave. All these arthakama, all these everything, they do not give you the fulfillment because your artha is prompting you towards the real security, liberation. Your kama is prompting you only towards the real desire for freedom. All the dharmas are pointing towards the Atma Dharma. Ultimately, through the roller coaster of life, in one birth, at one stage, you go back and reach to the source from where you started. And at that stage, I am neither of them. I am not Artha, Kama, Moksha. Na dharmo, na char, artho, na kamo, na moksha. Chidanantarupa. Shivoham Shivo. Chidananda Rupa. Every session, next 1, 2, 3, we will keep touching on this unless till the time we take up this Chidananda Rupa Shivam exclusively in one session. That will be the climax. Let us deal with Chit and let us deal with Ananda and close. He has skipped many portions in the course, but not left anything which is very important. See, the universe is of two kinds, external and internal. The external universe means 5 elements and all the properties of the 5 elements, various names, forms, qualities, properties, etc. The internal antakarana, the 5 koshas, the 3 bodies, all these things. Neither the external universe nor the internal universe are sentient in themselves. They are all but inert matter. We also learned in the Digdrishya Viveka, as we graduated, evolved from the objects to the pure Aham Kriti and then to the Aham. The external world, they cannot be perceived by us unless we are illumined within by that floodlight of pure consciousness. Clear? And internally also, the subtle body, intellect, water in the pot, sunshine. Okay, our intellect, then intellect to the mind to the senses. Internally also we are but inert, insentient matter. Till that time, that floodlight of pure consciousness comes and touches the water intellect and then illumines and within. So everything will continue to be insentient, inert till the time, we are born and our prana, our panchakoshas, everything is illumined by that reflected consciousness, which is coming, which is again illumined by that pure consciousness. And then when our insentient gross subtle body gets illumined, then we are aware. This aware is Chit of the Chidananda Rupa, pure awareness. I am Chit, I am pure knowledge. I am pure awareness. Atman is Chit, Chidananda Rupa. Chit, that Chit is pure source illumination. After that, all other knowledge in all other spheres, including spiritual, including science, including arts, including everything, all others are objects of knowledge. They are all, we are able to pursue and get all other knowledge through only and only through the source pure awareness, which we are Chit. Ananda, Chit Ananda. Shivoham we are not touching today. all the happiness which we get from the world of objects, they are all temporary. They come and go. All that which come and go, they are not eternal. Very easy definition. To be eternal is to be existing forever. All the happiness come and go. Take from your childhood till now. A knower of Brahman, a knower of Atman, a yogi, a jnani, a Jivan Mukta, he is very much aware. He is not fooled by any of these objective pleasures because he is aware that all these pleasures in this creation, they veil the true bliss, the true Ananda, not of the Atman, the true Ananda, which is the Atman, which is the self. For anything and everything, for in bhakti or in Vedanta, we can safely take Sai and we get answer for everything. Look at Sai. With his eyes closed, he sent you a photograph. Okay. And he wrote in that, what he wrote, that the bliss found its origin, the bliss found its fulfillment when it radiated itself through Sai and enveloped all the entire gathering in the Kulwant hall, and it enveloped the entire creation. Till that, like an anath, the bliss did not know what it was unless it radiated through Sai, the source Ananta. He wrote it. Huh? How many of you got it? There were hardly any response. There never comes any response for any of these messages. Whatever he is sending in group messages, believe me, it is an iota of the flood which ushers from within to share with you. For even that, because he is at a different plane when he is sending the messages, you are all at various different planes. So that alignment, immediate, that linking, that catching antenna, that doesn't happen. Let it happen at some time. So Sai is not Ananda Swarupa. Sai is Ananda. Ananda. Ananda is a very limited word. Satchit Ananda are limited words. Satyam Yanam Anantam are limited words. Somehow all these inexpressible things have to be given to spiritual sadhakas for centuries. So all these things have come in Upanishad. But when you see Sai and when you immerse in Sai sitting in the Sai Kulwant hall, when you are immersed and when something catches from Sai to you, and when you rise and go to some level and beyond a description, you you have no name for that. Hmm? प्यार को प्यार ही रहने दो, इसे कोई नाम न दो, wrote Gulzar. So after you come back to the canteen and with a cup of tea, you think this was Ananda. Actually, you can only experience, you cannot define Ananda. And you verily are that. If that you were not that Ananda yourself, Sai's aura Ananda would have come, touched like the Ramanand Sagar's Ram, this thing, the wand of the Rakshasas coming and touching the arrow of Lakshmana and Rama, failing and going back. The aura would not, you would not have got that Ananda if you yourself were not that Ananda, verily. Chit Ananda Rupa. You are that Ananda. Swami says in Satya Sai Speaks, volume 32, God is the embodiment of Satchit Ananda. He wanted to share 2-3 Ashtavakra Gita verses, but he knew that when once he starts, he will be off. He'll transcend, and then it may go to 2 hours. He's curbing. You leave him free and you say, Master, whole day we are with you. Then all the Ashtavakra Gitas will come, all the Ribhu Gitas will come, all the things, and all his inner state will come. He's so bound, still trying to serve you somehow or the other, somehow reaching you to you the secrets in a condensed manner. Swami says God is the embodiment of Satchitananda. Sat means that which is eternal. Chit is total awareness. When the water and sugar are mixed with each other, you get the syrup. Likewise, the combination of the Sat and the Chit results in Ananda, bliss. The Ananda that you experience out of worldly pleasures is momentary. Brothers and sisters, 2-3 of the devotees sitting there and attending the satsang, they will vouch for this. He even does not remember. He can only say n number of times. After existing there inside that hall, seated there, his body seated there, existing as that pure awareness, he has whispered, not roared. That is not the stage of roaring. He is whispered. Ananda is not something which has to be contemplated in the Satchit Ananda. Ananda is the culmination of the Sat and the Chit. Ananda could have as well been left silent by the Shrutis, by the Upanishad, without even describing. But then, at the Jiva level in the spiritual sadhana, we have to know in the gradation of Ananda from the Manushya Ananda to Brahmananda, we have to know what that state would be when we reach that awareness state. So to show you that loftiest state, we are the human being is aware only of the happiness. He knows only of, he may not be knowing as much about the Sat and Chit, but he knows well about the happiness, but because that is what he has been pursuing all through in all his birth. So this Ananda has to be referred helplessly by the Shruti. That is why Ananda has been added to Sat and Chit. Otherwise, in that state of awareness, pure existence, whatever you are, you can then come back to the state of waking state. He comes back to the car and sits and starts and says, yes, this is Ananda. Ananda is not as contemplation. Ananda is attainment. Like he said, water and sugar, Sat and Chit come together. Whatever happens, whatever you are, in limited English words, you can say Ananda. Chidananda Rupa. Maybe he doesn't know, he can't commit to you, but Ashtavakra Gita, maybe through the TP series, he may share something while driving. So next week, we will take up the next verse, na punyam, na papam, na saukhyam, na dukkham, na mantro, na tirtha, na veda, na yajna. Aham bhojanam naiva bhojyam na bhokta. Chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. How beautifully Shankara, in most logical way, he is sequenced this punyam, papam, mantra, tirtha, saukyam, dukkham. How beautifully he has sequenced this. You are bound to have goosebumps when he describes this sequence. How Shankara, what master he was. We will take up that. He knows from last week, it is getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. That is how spiritual sadhana has to be. We cannot hold on to the 10th standard C section table in our school, even after reach achieving the masters, saying that no, this seat I love. You have to graduate, you have to evolve in sadhana. So the sessions also must evolve on its own. Hari Om, that's a lot of contemplation. Few of you who you come back to him by Wednesday, whether Friday or you require one more week, accordingly we can have. He would like to finish off in continuous weeks these sessions. He leaves it to you.